A very good morning, it's Fabio and welcome back to another daily market outlook where we discuss all the major dollar pairs. Guys, Euro dollar, Aussie dollar, even gold have all been flying in towards the upside as expected. If you look at yesterday's video's title, you can literally see that it was EURUSD buy. So some very nice price action here on Euro dollar and still looking for some further upside. Before we dive in, make sure to leave a like here on the video and let's just dive straight in. So here on the weekly time frame, we saw a weekly fractal high break. This broke the previous low over here, so ultimately what we saw was push down, retracement, push down, then we saw a push up, breaking market structure, then we saw a retracement back in towards downside, in towards a daily area of the month, but also into this weekly imbalance candle over here, and then from there we have been seeing the market push up higher. Also a beautiful fib retracement, obviously below the 0.7 fib, and from there we've been pushing higher after grabbing liquidity underneath the swing low here to our left. So here we have the liquidity low, here we have the weekly change of character, and this together combined has now caused the market to push up higher, and it's still looking for at least this weekly liquidity high here to get taken out, and ultimately as well a push in towards the 0.5 fib retracement before then potentially again looking at that further downside. Okay, so for now dollar is weak, euro is strong, and looking to capitalize on that further in towards the upside on Euro USD. Looking here at the daily time frame, again, very clean price action. What I'm currently looking at is this black line here to break. So why this black line specifically? Well, this is the fractal high here on the daily time frame. Okay, why is this the fractal high? Well, this is the most recent high that broke a low. So as we can see over here, this broke a low, therefore this is now the fractal high. So waiting for that fractal high to break, and then we'll have even more confirmation that we should at least see a push in towards this weekly liquidity high, but also into that weekly 0.5 fib retracement level. Okay, so that is ultimately the ultimate conviction play that I'm currently looking for on Euro USD. For the rest, it is looking good still here for further upside. Nice daily candle closure yesterday, and today I'm looking for that next impulse in towards the highs. Obviously, after taking out those liquidity lows over here, which I explained in yesterday's video, and pushing down in towards this daily demand zone, we can very clearly see that the market reversed in towards the upside as expected. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, because that's where, in my opinion, it gets most interesting, we can again very clearly see that the market provided us with a trend shift in towards the upside. So what we had overall was a very clear downtrend where we got the push down, retracement, push down, retracement, push down, retracement, push down, and then a break of structure in towards the upside after taking out weekly liquidity and causing a weekly fractal structure shift. What happened then is that we saw a very deep retracement in towards the lows, and we're now just looking for the next impulsive phase in towards the highs to create a new higher high. So obviously the next target is this high over here for Euro USD, as that is your 4-hour swing high. Now looking at the 4-hour itself, and especially the 1-hour, which I'll touch upon in a second, we can very clearly see that the overall current order flow is in towards the upside. So what I'm currently looking at here on Euro USD, and this is a position that we discussed in yesterday's video on the 1-hour time frame, which I'll discuss, and this Monday swing position is also still running, so you can check out Monday's stream as well. But you guys know that we mentioned that we had a 4-hour area of supply here on the buy before the sell. However, as I mentioned yesterday, this is not a very strong area of supply, and you'll see on AU, GU, and I think even on NU, these supply zones have already been broken. So why is this not a strong area of supply? Well, because there is no liquidity in the overall push down. There is no little bump in the road. Always, guys, when you see a push in towards the downside or a push in towards the upside, you want to see liquidity being formed, okay? And liquidity is nothing more than, for example, in this push down, these little bumps in the road where liquidity lies above, and you'll see that eventually the market takes out the liquidity and then, for example, continues in towards the downside. It will never just continue in towards the downside from, for example, this area of supply where there's no liquidity in the overall push down. Okay, so the analysis was pretty much absolutely perfect, and what I'm now looking for here on Euro USD is for us to scale into even more longs, where we currently have this over here as our, let's say, 1-hour structure, because if we look at the 1-hour time frame, we can very clearly see here that we again have the 1-hour order flow holding, again very clearly explained on Monday already, we have overall buy before the sell still holding. And then what we have as well very clearly is yesterday that beautiful setup here on the 1 hour time frame where we had a demand zone over here, right? So this is the demand zone, and then what happened is that we retraced in towards that demand zone, and then we saw the bullish change of character. We retrace in towards this fresh demand zone that is then created, and then from there, as you can see, the long position, which is now break even, the market shot up and continued up higher. So you can watch back yesterday's video just to check that. But for the rest, what we have now is this as our fib. What I'm now simply looking for is a potential pullback to then scale in on even more longs here on EURUSD. Now, obviously, after taking out kind of like this internal liquidity that we have over here, I am potentially looking for a retracement on EURUSD. We also have these equal lows, so a retracement wouldn't be bad because that would only provide us with additional scale in opportunities, okay? Because here we have, for example, an area of demand where we could scale in. So you could just very simply say, okay, here I take a scale in position, just take a little bit of a wider stop loss, and then we trade it back up towards that 4 hour swing high. And then here we have the equal lows and wait for those equal lows to get taken out, tap into demand, and then look for that continuation. But obviously we could just continue pushing up higher without ever retracing in towards that, because currently the 4 hour fractal structure already has formed a demand zone here. But this for me is not a very nice demand zone because it didn't have an order flow connection with this previous area of demand over here, this previous sell for the buy up. So I would like to kind of like see that low get liquidated and then a tap in towards that demand zone, and then from there, for example, continuation up higher. But obviously if we push in towards here and then we see the 1 hour change of character, it could already continue up higher. But the highest probability trade will always come from a little bit lower, at least the 0.5 fib retracement here on the 1 hour time frame. So that's what I'm looking at on EURUSD. But yeah, these two trades playing out to absolute perfection so far, and currently still targeting that 4 hour swing high, but eventually yeah, also the weekly liquidity and the weekly 0.5 fib, which are going to be the final targets for EURUSD. Going into AUD or dollar index, excuse me, next we can see that the dollar index is pushing down lower still. Overall, what we are now seeing is that the market is nearing a fractal low here on the daily time frame. Once that fractal low is broken, there's going to be even more probability that the dollar index will continue pushing down lower for now in the medium to short term. Looking here at the weekly time frame as well, we can see that the weekly fractal structure is playing out beautifully. Here we had a weekly fractal low break. That's a fractal low because here it broke a fractal high. So ultimately, very simply said, this is just a push up, push down, push up, and then a market structure shift down, a retracement all the way back up into premium, and now we're just continuing down lower, and the market is currently trading over here. But from a market structure perspective, it makes a lot of sense to continue pushing down lower, at least in towards this low again, and then yeah, preferably we'll see even this low over here get taken out eventually on the dollar before either heading up higher or just continuing with the overall internal trend down lower. That will then depend on what market structure does. But yeah, for the weekly, for now, we have been very on point, understanding that this is weekly supply and that should push the market down lower as it currently has done. So now going into AUDUSD, I mentioned yesterday on the stream that you could take buys on AU, and as we can see here on the weekly time frame, we are still looking at further upside. Okay, so very simple setup on AU. We have an area of consolidation, and when you have an area of consolidation, you always want to do two things. You want to mark out the range low and you want to mark out the range high, because what you will often see is that the range high gets liquidated, reversal in towards the downside, range low gets liquidated, a reversal in towards the upside. So on AU, currently still waiting for the 0.5 fib here on the weekly time frame to get hit, so still looking for further upside here from Australian US dollar. Going into the daily time frame, we can see on the daily that we have a beautiful push up from here. As you guys know, again, I can mention it every single day, but I was in a long position already last week here with my stop loss underneath the swing low over here. It was pretty safe, but then you can see it got wicked out on the news. The position would be absolutely flying, so very sad to see. But overall, again, I mentioned yesterday, and I'll show you in a second, that you could have taken a long position once again, which is currently playing out to absolute perfection. So what I'm now looking at here is the fact that, okay, the daily saw another change of character up, which I mentioned in yesterday's video, which was likely to happen. So we saw this little downtrend here, and now we've broken up, and I'm now just looking for upside continuation here from Australian US dollar. So expecting a further upside push, with the next immediate target being this daily buy before the sell candle over here. And yeah, AUDUSD should push up higher from here. Going in towards the 4 hour time frame, And you know it, we did indeed call it yesterday. We had a fake area of supply, guys. This is so beautiful. Again, I explained it already on EURUSD, but this is a fake area of supply. We have a push down, there's no liquidity in it. And then I already mentioned we're likely going to take out this high. And what have we now done? We have actually done it. So make sure to leave a like on this video because it just motivates me seeing that you guys see what I also see. Now overall, the 4-hour time frame here for myself is bullish. Yes, we saw kind of like a break of structure in towards downside, but this was obviously just a news push. So for myself, this is like a strong low and this is a weak high, so the market should at least push up higher from here in towards that weak high. Let's say we do see a retracement in the short term, then what I'll be looking for is to enter additional positions where we have this kind of like as structure, and then I'll just be looking at a further push down, maybe taking out kind of like these lows and then looking for the market structure shift again to scale in on even more longs. Obviously it does not need to pull back, it could just continue up higher from here and follow the 4-hour fractal structure like on EU, but that is just the ideal setup, because the ideal setup would be taken inside here, but this is the more aggressive setup, which I'll then be taking based on the 1-hour fractal structure once we retrace into it, because maybe the market is extremely bullish and it's already ready to buy from here, but then we'll just look at the internal market structure to see, okay, do we flip bullish right after tapping into it? Then I'll just take that long position. Does it not, and does it just continue pushing down lower? Then we just look inside of that overall larger area of demand for potential longs. Okay, so that's what I have for AUDUSD. It's currently entering this area of supply over here, so who knows, we might see a reaction, but overall still expecting on the swing. Overall expecting more upside. I'm not really looking at the lower time frame setups just yet because we need it to be inside demand to take those longs, but you guys know, if you were on the stream yesterday, that there was just such a nice position. Again, we can very clearly see here, this is a demand zone, and then what we had over here was that we had this as a demand zone. So then what I mentioned was, again, here we have like the initial reaction to, let's say, support and resistance. So a lot of traders are then going long and buying on this bullish candle. They put their stop loss underneath the low and then they get stopped out. Then what we saw here was the break back up again. So this was the fractal market structure shift. And then from that point onwards, and this was literally where I had my line with the stop loss underneath the low. You can check the live stream from yesterday back just to validate this all, is that you would now be around 1.5% in profit. So a very nice trade overall, and still targeting that overall high over there. So yeah, if you're now in this position, you could put it to break even and then just anticipate on the fact that this order flow will hold and continue pushing the market up higher. And then if it does indeed retrace in towards here, you could just look for a new position and play it a little bit more safe, but you don't want to get stopped out by this position anymore. But a very, very clean position overall. And yeah, perfect analysis on the fact that the supply zone was pretty fake. Yes, we did react to liquidity here, but we never saw a bearish continuation, and we saw a bullish fractal structure shift after retracing into demand. That is extremely strong sign for further upside. And as we can see, yeah, the market has continued to push up higher, so still holding up higher in towards where? Well, in towards this daily supply zone over here. So yeah, looking for that on AUDUSD. Then going into, of course, a GBPUSD, we can see that GU has also been pushing up higher. Again, very, very clear analysis, as explained yesterday, where we have this area of fake supply. Again, I want you guys to understand and to see what I see, because I explained this again very clearly in yesterday's video and also on stream, that we should push up higher. And at least, for example, take out this high over here, because this here is the initial reaction, right? This is the initial bearish candle, and a lot of traders then trade this either with the stop loss above the high or above the supply zone, because they were looking at this setup over here with the fib retracement levels like this, right? So when you do this, you need to be a little bit smart, because there's no liquidity in the overall push down. Again, as I explained at the beginning of this stream, there's no liquidity in the push down. So then what happens? We just liquidate the highs themselves, and we're now pushing in towards where? In towards this liquidity high over here. So we should at least take that out. Overall here on the daily time frame, I'm just looking for some more upside continuation, because GBPUSD will follow Euro Pound in towards the lows, but also it will follow EURUSD up higher. And EURUSD obviously leads all of these XXX USD pairs overall. And as long as EURUSD looks good to push up higher, GU should push up higher as well. So yeah, for now, looking still for further upside on GU. Yeah, once GU breaks this daily fractal high here, it will be even more clear for myself that we can look in for additional skill in positions for even more longs. And then this becomes kind of like your area of demand, right? From where we'll be looking for additional long positions up higher. and also based on the weekly time frame. For now, we are looking at this weekly high over here to be targeted around 1.28, and then we have this as an area of supply. So on the short term, looking to reach around 128 and this area of supply here on GU. So then just look for those potential positions on the lower time frame. Again, very clearly, you can very clearly see that yesterday the overall demand zones have been holding. GU was a little bit more aggressive, but here it did respect this area of demand again. And then again, you can see here very clearly fractal break low, fractal break high, very similar to AU, and then it just pushes up higher again after this demand zone was created. So again, clean price action overall, but in my personal opinion, I like EU and AU a little bit more than GU at the moment. Going into NU and then of course gold, NZDUSD itself is still pushing up higher, just following AU overall. It just didn't retrace into this demand zone of the drawing that I had yesterday, but targeting this overall swing high here, 0.57235 on NU overall. What I'm looking at position wise is just very simply said this, looking for a retracement and then for these lows to be taken out if we do retrace, and this is then the position that I'm potentially looking at on NU. And then last of all, we have gold. Gold itself here is still pushing up higher. There is nothing really to do with this. If you're in buys, obviously it's great that you have a swing position, but we're at an all-time high, so there's nothing to trade off. We need to see another retracement again in towards a demand zone, which is again this over here, this sub for the buy. So if it does retrace, then yeah, we'll look for long positions, but for now there is nothing to do. I'm not going to be shorting at an all-time high, only longing, but we've already seen the impulse up, so now we just need to wait for it to retrace and to form a base from where we can then go long once again. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Wish you all a fantastic trading day and speak soon.